Okay, as we discuss in the material factors that there are a few people who are materially deprived. So on that occasion, we have some people who are culturally deprived. Culturally deprived people. Now, what is cultural deprivation basically mean, and what are the factors that we can add in the cultural deprivation? The phenomena is given by the Douglas, 1964. According to them, what we can add or what factors we can add, which are the reasons or which can become the part of the cultural deprivation. The number one is parental attitude. Parental attitude. Now you can define the parental attitude in terms of level of encouragement and interest in the child education from the parents. That how much interest your parents taking in your studies. So that is one thing. Other thing, you can say family size. If you have a very short family, then resources will be enough for you. But in any case, if you have a very extended kind of a families, if you have a very uh, the larger family, that's mean that you have, or the parents have very few resources for each children. Okay, they have very short or they have very less investment to invest in the education of their each children. So that is another cultural deprivation. If we have a very short family or if you have a very large family, that become your cultural deprivation. Other factors that we can add over here is your position within the family. Position within your family. Older children tend to achieve more than younger members of the large families. They always try, and sometimes the older member have a lot of responsibility on their shoulders. So if you have a lot of responsibility on your shoulder, then again you are culturally deprived because you won't be more concentrated on your education because you have a lot of responsibility on your shoulder other than your education system. So that's become, you can say, we can count it as our uh, into the part of the cultural deprivation. Now, how this process work? This process basically works in two different forms. How this system works? This system works basically in two different forms. I'm talking about the cultural deprivation. Okay, so cultural deprivation work basically in two different ways, or you can say we have two main application for the cultural deprivation. Two main application. Number one, we have speech codes. Number one, we have speech code. Speech code idea actually given by Bernstein in 1971. 1971. In a very easy and short word, speech code means the use of the use of language, or you can say word selection. Now let me explain them one by one. We basically have two kind of uh, speech code at the school level. First, you just have to understand the idea, then we will link that how it can become a cultural deprivation. First one, we have restricted speech code. Restricted speech code. But the restricted speech code are those, or you can say there are two kind of student at the school. One who use restricted speech code. Restricted speech code means who uses simple language to convey the direct meaning. Use simple language to convey message. Or we normally say use simple English, use the simple terminologies so everyone can understand very well. That's become restricted speech code. And of course, maximum or the majority who are from working class, when they enter into the school, they normally use these restricted speech codes because they don't have a very huge kind of educational family background, and they don't have very good kind of a very great kind of a schooling. So normally when they enter in the school, whatever the English they have, uh, what kind of a practice they have, they try to use the restricted speech code in order to convey their direct messages. And the other one we have elaborated speech code. Elaborated speech code. Elaborated speech code opposite to the restricted speech code, where you use the complex vocabulary and ideas to convey your message. Use complex vocabulary and ideas to convey message. Or you can say this is more use of the rephrases, more use of the extract, more use of the abstract. That's become a very hard for all of the public to understand. Okay, few people yes can understand, but not for all the audience. We said cultural deprivation has two main applications. So that was the first application that we said we have a speech code. Now try to understand that how it can become uh, cultural deprivation first. Now just assume that when working class children entered into the school, and when they face elaborated speech code, what ultimately will happen, their confidence will be down because they have to encounter such kind of languages and such kind of environment. Or you can say uh, the working class students encounter the middle class environment. Working class students encounter middle class environment. Now what ultimately will happen if you are sitting in class, this in turn influence the teacher assessment. If you are using the elaborated speech code, your teacher will be impressed. But if you are using restricted speech code, what ultimately happens? This will, you can say that now teachers, you have a different reputation in the teacher's mind as compared to those who are using elaborated speech code.